It's that time of year again, the spooky season, and this year we're going to start off back in the late 70s, early 80s, with the first console that I ever played, the Atari 2600. Now, the 2600 isn't known for its horror games, but there are a few games that were officially released for the system, and some of them are pretty sought after by today's collectors, commanding quite a few bucks. This is the month of October, and Halloween-themed content is just a natural choice. Tonight, we're going to take a look at 8 great Atari 2600 games that you should be playing for Halloween. Starting off our list pretty obviously with Haunted House. Now, it's kind of like a classic dungeon crawl similar to Adventure, where you're going to explore a spooky haunted house and gather treasures. You've got these 2 big wide eyes as your character, and you're going to need a flashlight to spot the monsters lurking around. It's a pretty awesome experience actually, especially with the lights turned off. It can give you an eerie vibe. Okay, hear me out. Rampage, the arcade classic. It lets you step into the shoes, or bare feet, of a human-turned monster wreaking havoc across various cities. What's more fitting for Halloween than that? Now, unfortunately, yes, the Atari 2600 falls a little short when it comes to capturing the original stunning graphics and sound, resulting in a pretty blocky experience. But the gameplay is surprisingly similar to the arcade version, but it's definitely toned down a bit. You might want to check out one of the other countless versions that are available at home if you want a longer gaming experience. But on the 2600, who else is going to destroy those yellow buildings? Who you gonna call? Released by Activision in 1985, Ghostbusters for the Atari 2600 hit the scene just 1 year after the movie came out, and it's pretty darn good. You kick things off by capturing ghosts outside of buildings, with Slimer showing up most of the time. Meanwhile, you've got this funky Atari rendition of the Ghostbusters theme jamming through the background. The graphics for ghost catching are surprisingly decent for this console, and the Ecto-1 driving parts aren't as dragged out as in other versions. But the best part, when you finally get to fight against the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man at the end. It's downright hilarious just watching him bounce back and forth in front of the buildings like that. Not a bad cartridge to have in your collection. Ghost Manor really aimed high. You can take the role of a couple of kids exploring a spooky ghost manor. After you snag a rainbow ghost in the graveyard, you're going to find yourself facing off against skeletons and a tough mummy, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. You need to save your friend. I mean, they are being held captive by Dracula. Now, it might not be as thrilling as it sounds, but the different levels keep things interesting, making it one of the more ambitious games of its era. Also, it came out on one of those cool double-ender carts. A fun way to kill a few minutes while you're waiting to answer the door for more trick-or-treaters. Released by Data Age for the Atari back in 1983, you know, I gotta say, Frankenstein's Monster is one of the most fun games for the 2600. It should have made my top 20 list, link in the descriptions. The main goal is to construct a wall around the monster before he wakes up. You're going to be climbing up and down the screen, collecting bricks one by one. Along the way, you're going to run into a huge tarantula, some bats, ghosts, and even a nice little pool of acid. Just your typical creepy castle vibes. If you manage to finish the wall before the timer hits 0, you save the village from the monster's meltdown. But if you don't make it, Frankenstein's monster comes to life and wrecks everything in sight, which honestly is the best part. If you get a chance to play this game, let yourself lose at least once just to see what happens. Created by Fox Interactive Games back in 1982, Atari's Alien doesn't shy away from its roots as a straightforward clone of Pac-Man. But instead of evading ghosts in a maze, you're sprinting away from the xenomorphs, which is definitely a cooler twist. Now, the maze is supposed to be designed to resemble the interior of a spaceship, which is crawling with adult aliens dropping eggs everywhere. Just like in Pac-Man, the pellets scattered around are actually eggs that you can clear by running over them. There's not much more to it. It's basically Pac-Man, but with aliens. If you're a fan of the classic arcade game and the horror genre, you'll probably enjoy this fresh take on the iconic yellow character. And truth be told, this is a way better game than Pac-Man on the 2600. From Wizard Video, bringing Tobe Hooper's classic to the Atari back in '82. You get to step into Leatherface's shoes, complete with a chainsaw strapped to your waist. You'll be sprinting through a field littered with cow skulls and wheelchairs, all while hunting down your next target. The shrill sounds you hear when a victim shows up are actually meant to mimic a girl's screams. The chainsaw runs on fuel, and every time you hit the button to rev it up, your fuel gauge will start dropping. Run out of gas, and it's game over for you. So the goal is pretty simple. Take out as many folks as you can before you run dry. It's a morbid yet fun way to kill about 10 minutes. One thing that really bugged me about this game though, aside from the developers not giving Leatherface a different color from his chainsaw, is how easily your character is gonna get stuck on those obstacles. You definitely want to avoid them. Even if a tiny pixel of Leatherface brushes up against one of these hazards, you're gonna be stuck there for a few frustrating seconds. Another gem by Wizard Video from back in 1983, The Shape got his own Atari game that totally captures the retro vibe. Instead of playing as Michael Myers, you take on the role as the quote-unquote babysitter, who I'm guessing is meant to be Laurie Strode. Your mission? Save the kids you're supposed to be looking after from the boogeyman, who's running around the house with a knife, all while an awesome 8-bit version of John Carpenter's Halloween theme plays in the background. How holiday appropriate is that? You have 3 lives that are represented by jack-o'-lanterns on top of the screen. You lose those lives, the game is over. Michael Myers can kill the kids that you're supposed to be babysitting, and it has no effect on you. But you should try and save them as much and as often as possible by collecting them on one end of the house and bringing them all the way back to the other. The best part of the game, and you're going to have to try this to see it in all its 2600 glory, is when Michael Myers catches you, where he decapitates you. Yep, this might be the first ever video game decapitation. You only see a little blood, but it is still pretty cool. And that's going to do it for my list of 8 great Atari 2600 games that you should be playing for the Halloween season. Now, down in the comments, have you tried any of these games? Does this list interest you? Are you going to go back and play some of these 2600 gems? Or is there a game or two that I missed? Again, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And stay tuned. Stay tuned, who says that? Keep watching my channel because there's going to be a lot more Halloween stuff for October. Take care, guys. I'll see you in about a week.